Hello everyone, my name is Gabriel Medina, and this is my presentation on evolutionary game theory. Before we begin, I would like to present to you all a quick song that I made that might give you an idea as to what evolutionary game theory is. I hope you all enjoy.
Every day we make decisions, sometimes it's hard to choose. The problems that we face today, it's either win or you lose. But we all evolve and learn from our mistakes. Next time we'll surely succeed. We should strive to cooperate so everyone will gain. But knowing when to fight back just might save you the pain. Consider every other's actions before you make your own. Strategies evolve, they change, they grow. So choose what works, what pays, what gets everyone ahead. That's what evolution game theory will show.
I hope you all enjoyed that song and that it gave you a good idea as to what evolutionary game theory might be. Now, for those people familiar with game theory, what exactly is the difference between evolutionary game theory and normal game theory? The main difference between game theory and evolutionary game theory is that game theory entails solving one-off problems that you can get payoffs with. An example of this is maybe choosing which mall to go to with you and your friends, or maybe a game of rock, paper, scissors with you and your brother, or even choosing when to go or stop in a stoplight. Evolutionary game theory, however, deals with the change of strategies over time. How do your strategies evolve after certain situations and scenarios have been met? To give you a clearer idea, let's first analyze a prisoner's dilemma game that I made in the context of using normal game theory knowledge. Let's say we have two packs of hyenas, one on the left and one on the right. Now let's say that they both have the option to either cooperate to try and take down the zebra so that they can share the spoils, or defect with the other group to try and take the zebra for themselves. Now if both decide to fight, or defect, then the zebra gets away and they both injure each other. However, as we can see here, if one of them tries to cooperate but the other defected, then the defector gets the zebra and the cooperators don't get anything at all. However, upon cooperating with each other, they both gain half of the zebra. Over here, I have a regular payoff matrix that you might encounter when analyzing games through normal game theory. Let's use Nash Equilibrium to determine what the best move is based on what the other opponent might be using. As we can see here, the best option is to defect when the other chooses to cooperate. This is something common that you would find in most prisoner dilemma games. And this is because defecting is the best option for this one-off, one-shot problem. However, we remember that evolutionary game theory deals with the change of strategies, meaning the game's to be played multiple times. So what happens if we always choose to grab the carcass whenever the other tries to share? So over here, I've made several different scenarios using the data we have from our little hyena game. At the top left, we can see that the player decided to keep defecting, and this was punished by another player who decided to defect once he's seen that the opponent has defected. As you can see, the player who constantly defected was rewarded with -40 as his final payout, and that's pretty bad if you ask me. Below that, we have another player who has been constantly defecting against a player who's been choosing moves at random. While he did get a decent payout of 20, it's nothing compared to the other two we have on the right side. At the top right, we have two players who were constantly cooperating, and as you can see, they received a payoff of 30, meaning constant cooperation in this case might be better than constantly just defecting against other opponents. However, as you can see at the bottom of that, constant cooperation can still be easily punished by constantly defecting. The constant defector got a payoff of 60, which is the biggest in all of these different tables. From what I would gather here, choosing one particular strategy isn't exactly the best, as when playing many games or when playing evolution game theory, choosing different strategies would benefit you because constant strategies can be more easily punished. Now, a political scientist by the name of Robert Axelrod wanted to answer this question: what exactly is the best option in this case? So he held a tournament where people may submit different algorithms. There were 14 overall, and the winner of that particular strategy tournament was tit for tat. Now this might be something you've heard before, but let me explain what exactly it is. Tit for tat is a simple reciprocal process that plays the move last used by your opponent. As we can see here, in the first scenario, it starts off by both cooperating. But then, once the opponent defected, player 1 copied the move of player 2, going for defecting as well. Again, using the data we used, as you can see here, this player tried to use tit for tat, and the opponent tried to punish his cooperation by defecting. However, once the tit for tat took in effect, he was able to punish the opponent, and in the end, they both received nothing. Now, when biologists realized that the different concepts of game theory, such as the payoff matrix, different players, different strategies, can be applied to how animals and humans change their genes and their behaviors to better fit that of their environment, they came up with two different classifications for strategies: resident strategies and mutant strategies. Resident strategies are quite simply the population's most chosen strategy. For example, a community of cats, for example, might want to always cooperate with one another or cooperate with outsiders. Then that will be the resident strategy, and a rare mutant strategy of somebody choosing to not help others might be present within the community. Similarly, when the payoff matrix was applied to evolutionary game theory, they changed the values of the payoffs or rewards to fitness. Now, what exactly is fitness? Quite simply, fitness is the ability of a population or species to continue reproducing or adapt and survive to certain environmental conditions. Over here, I have a diagram that simply explains this. We have a hawk, and over time, let's say they learned that eating smaller mammals is the best food source for them and their family. As a result, they were able to continuously reproduce, and now we have lots of hawks in different environments. Let's analyze another game to hopefully give you guys a better understanding of this concept. This next game is in the form of the hawk-dove game, where players both have the option to either play hawk or dove when competing for a resource or a particular reward. Hawk is essentially the aggressive taker. They will take and try to compete for resources whenever possible, while the dove is more of a peaceful animal. It will always attempt to cooperate. This is a little more complicated than the prisoner's dilemma, so let me walk you through it. X essentially denotes the fitness. As we discussed earlier, is the ability to reproduce for a given population or the ability of a population to survive. C is essentially the cost. A cost paid could be because of injuries or losing fitness, for example. So if you can see here, when both players decide to play hawk, then the cost of fitness is divided by 2 and is subtracted by the cost. If the first player decides to play hawk and the other player decides to play dove, then just like the prisoner's dilemma, cooperators get nothing and the hawk or the defectors gain, well, the whole resource. If both decide to play dove, however, then there's no cost paid. They will split the goods. The following is the Nash Equilibrium of the game. As you can see, the Nash Equilibrium is to both play hawk. However, this is when we are assuming that the value of the goods are better than 0. Now, what if the cost is too great and you will receive a negative fitness as a result? The Nash equilibrium becomes as follows. The best option is most likely to play dove when the other plays hawk to avoid any sort of injuries and losses to fitness. So what does this tell us exactly? This tells us that the best individual response is always based on what the opponent could be doing. However, individual responses are most likely to be influenced by the residential strategies that they came from. Let's say a player that comes from a residential that mainly uses dove moves is most likely to play dove moves as well. And a player who also comes from a community of hawks is most likely to play hawk as well. While it might seem like sticking to a static strategy, like always playing dove, or for an animal species to always cooperate, it's not always the case when it comes to multiple games. Mutant strategies may always appear, like this. In this case, the hawk will always dominate the dove, and so the community of doves are most likely to get extinct once the hawk population starts growing. And this is the premise of evolutionary game theory. While, just like a butterfly, that signifies transformation. Different strategies and choices are always evolving and changing over the course of time, as, of course, games are always being played no matter where you are. Evolutionary game theory aims to answer what exactly are the stable strategies that will keep populations thriving for generations to come. I hope you all took away something from my presentation and that this was satisfying to you. Thank you very much for listening. Bye bye.